Hi, Chris. How are you doing? Sorry, the lighting's terrible in here, but can
Oh,
you
no, it's fine.
see?
How are you?
I'm pretty good, thanks.
Thank you for willing to do this.
No problem.
Is this like from what I could see, is like the first interview that you've done?
Yeah, it is. No one's ever asked, so thank you.
Yeah. So I can just start from the beginning then and ask how you got into acting professionally.
Okay, well, as a kid, I was just fascinated with performing, and I loved watching the old Carol Burnett show, and I always wanted to be Carol Burnett. So I just started taking lessons when I was a young kid, and then eventually I went to university and got my degree in acting, but it wasn't really, it was a more practical kind of program. So, we did dance classes every day and acting classes and speech classes. So it was kind of like my dream come true to do that. And and then, after a lot of struggling, I worked in many restaurants and did many different odd jobs, but eventually I started to get work as an actor, and particularly as a voiceover artist, because that was something I used to do as a kid too. I just sit in my room for hours with a tape recorder and just practice doing imitations of voices or coming up with voices.
And was there ever any initial aspiration to move to LA or New York?
Yeah, maybe way back when in my 20s, I thought, oh, yeah, maybe I should move to LA, but it never really panned out. And I just thought, really, what I want to do is just do this. And if I can make a living at it, great. But it's my passion, and I didn't really care about whether I was famous or,
Mhm.
I just thought I can, if I can work here, then why not?
And so what was the first any kind of paid job that you had for acting then?
Well, it started out in live theater.
Okay.
So, yeah, a lot of different plays in different areas of Canada. So that was my initial thing. Was I thought, oh, I want to be a Shakespearean actor, so maybe I'll go to the Stratford Festival in Ontario someday. But that didn't really pan out either. I still love doing Shakespeare, and I have done a lot of it. But yeah, just things progressed in a different way.
So how did you break into voiceover then?
Well, yeah, I did the usual thing that people have to do, is just take some courses through the union and sort of introduce myself to the directors that were hiring at the time. And I made a demo tape, and one of the directors who was doing a lot of stuff at that time heard my demo and really liked it. So he brought me into a project that he was doing, and it just kind of went from there.
And looks like it started with a lot of original animation first.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I didn't really get into the dubbing thing until a few years into my career.
Okay. And do you remember what the first anime that you would have worked on was?
Uh, it might have been Maison Ikkoku.
Yeah.
That was sort of the biggest one that I did. There were just so many episodes of it. We did probably, I can't remember how many episodes, and then about 5 years later, they brought back even more episodes. So that was a good long series.
That's actually one of my favorite anime.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I had a lot of fun doing that. It was just a blast.
Is there a story of how you became involved, like getting the role of Kyoko?
Yeah, I guess I can't really remember, but I just auditioned for it, and I think I had done a prelay series at that studio, Ocean Studios. And so the director there knew me. And and then the guy who was in charge of the Japanese animation was introduced to me, and I guess he just liked my voice, so I got it.
And how could you personally relate to her at all?
Well, I think, she was a gentle person, but also really strong underneath. And she was a little bit, not flaky, but I don't know, she was a little bit awkward, and I think I can relate to that, but she was also just a really good person.
Mm-hmm. And obviously there's plenty of emotionally involved moments in that series as well. Is there anything that stands out, like, from your memory?
I just remember the relationship with the different characters in the boarding house, and it was, the problem with doing the dubbing thing is that the other actors who are playing the other characters, and so that's great because you can kind of get a picture of them in your mind, but you don't actually get to be in the room with them. I just have fond memories of a lot of those different characters.
Mm-hmm. I know a while ago you did your first convention.
Yeah, that was the one here in Richmond, BC. So that was very interesting. It was a totally different experience for me, but I met some really neat people, and people were just very, very kind and charming.
Well, I was going to ask too if there were still people that were approaching you about Kyoko.
I think there probably were people that were asking about Kyoko, but it was mostly because it was a My Little Pony convention. There was a character called Maniac that I played in. She was just a guest character. And so they were asking me a lot about that. That's sort of the autographs I signed were for Maniac. But then on the panels, I was really surprised. People knew quite a bit about other things that I'd done, like Crypto the Super Dog, and people were asking about that. People were asking about movies that I had been in. So it's interesting.
I know it would have been a while after that, but since you were Cappy in Hamtaro.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that was such a funny show. We just had a really good time. And I just wish, with these shows that you could have the whole cast in the same room, because it would have been so much more of a blast. But at least, you get to hear the other characters' voices, depending on when you are in the order of, the dubbing. So sometimes you're the first person, so you don't get to hear the other people's voices, but other times you do, and you know who they are.
Yeah. And what is your particular process for developing boy voices?
I just sort of really tried to listen to things like kids on TV, and I used to watch Rugrats a lot to sort of get an idea of the kind of boy voices they did. But to be honest with you, I don't get a lot of boy voices anymore. I think, I try to put on that sort of, gruff, scratchy thing, which, that's about as much as I can really, that's as far as it goes. And, it works for some things, but I think, especially now, if they want a boy, they're just going to get a real kid, usually. There are a lot of women that still do boy voices, but I think I was lucky that I got to do a few back earlier in my career, but I'm not going to get a lot of them now.
Mm-hmm. And just generally too, what do you think is the case where you've had to alter your voice the most for a role so far?
Well, it's probably something like Maniac, or the things with the really big characters where you have to just really laugh. And I did a character in this show called The Hollow, which is, I think, a Netflix cartoon series.
Yep.
And it was I can't even remember the name of the character, but it was so much fun. But honestly, I felt like I was gonna blow a vocal cord doing it, because it was this Scottish character that was really, wild and crazy. And they just kept wanting me to go further and further with it. And so it's just like, oh my God, I've got like my spit all over the paper in front of me.
Yeah. Is there a case with anime that you remember where you've had to alter your voice a lot, or?
Anime is a little bit different because I think most of the characters were more sort of natural. Like I'm thinking of like Silent Mobius or Escaflowne. They were more sort of in my range of voice, but maybe a little bit lighter, or maybe a little bit more serious and deeper, but generally in the range of what my natural voice is.
Mm-hmm. And on Silent Mobius, I would think that might have been the first case where you got to play like a more warrior type of female character.
Yeah, I think so. And also it wasn't really a warrior character in Transformers, but it was that sort of Misha character where she's the co-captain of the ship, I guess. There was one, I can't remember which series it was, but it was sort of like a goddess character, very ethereal. Can you think of what that might have been?
That might be Please Save My Earth.
Oh, that's it. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I like that character too. I'm glad you can keep track of this stuff because it's it's so long ago that sometimes I forget. The thing about this is that like when you do prelay, you get the scripts ahead of time. You read the whole script, and usually there's there's a sort of a character arc with it. But with the dubbing stuff, often we didn't even get the script beforehand, so you're just kind of going in and you're not really getting the whole script idea. You're just doing the sections that you're in and trying to figure out the context of it from there. So I think because of that, it doesn't sort of stick in your mind as much as if you'd actually gone through the whole script and kind of figured out exactly what was going on.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I don't know, I've rarely ever watched the finished product other than Maison Ikkoku. I watched the whole thing. They gave, back in the day, they gave me the videotapes. And so I watched it all on my VCR. But some of the other stuff I just haven't really seen a lot of.
Okay. And how do you think you could personally relate to Kyoko?
I don't know. I just thought she was a quirky character, and I liked that about her. She had a temper, but she was also very kind, and she just got flustered and frustrated with people because they were very frustrating people that were always testing her. But I think that's sort of part of my personality as well, is that I just I try to be kind, but also I can get very frustrated with people.
Mm-hmm. Well, it is interesting too that so many relationships, in the relationship with Godai and Kyoko in that series, it's it's very realistic to what people go through in real life. So
yeah. And who's the guy that was the tennis star that had the kind of like, he's just, every time he smiled there'd be like this glint coming off of his teeth. I love that character.
And then I know, would it have kind of been early on too that you got to be in Dragon Ball Z?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So yeah, I remember Princess Snake.
Yeah.
And I think in that series, I played a lot of little incidental characters too, like a lot of reporters, on the street reporters and stuff like that.
And who in the community up there, who are you closest with, like with other voice actors?
That's interesting. I really it's been so long since I've got to be in a room with any of them. It's terrible. I really love Rebecca Choiquette.
Oh,
And she's in My Little Pony. And Colin Murdoch, he plays Mr. Pteranodon to my Mrs. Pteranodon in Dinosaur Train. And he's a very funny, great guy. Ian Corlett. Oh, the list goes on and on. And then, oh yeah, I haven't seen her for years, but Saffron, who
yeah.
was in Maison Ikkoku, she's great. And she's a Facebook friend, so I kind of keep up with what's happening with her, but I haven't seen her for ages.
Mm-hmm. It was back in April, but I got to be the first person to interview Chiara Zani.
Oh, Chiara's on. Oh, Chiara, yeah. So she, I think, moved to LA. Maybe, I don't know, but maybe she's back now.
Mm-hmm. And I know in Maison Ikkoku that the first person to play Godai was Jason Gray Stanford, and then
right.
Brad Soyle.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, so yeah, I don't really know exactly what happened there, but I think maybe Jason moved away or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Brad was great too.
And then I know you got to be in both of the different Inuyasha series.
Mm-hmm. Yep, can't remember much about that.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
What about with Ghost in the Shell?
Yeah, that I know I can remember doing it, but I just don't really remember much about it.
Okay.
This is ridiculous. I'm sorry.
Is that kind of the same thing with Samurai Troopers?
Yeah. Yeah, you know, when you say the names, I go, oh yeah, that. But it was like quite a while ago.
Well, I guess I can ask, since you did watch Maison Ikkoku, what were your thoughts on the series overall?
I thought it was very entertaining and very you know, it was just heartwarming. I think it was a really feel good kind of series. And I think, you know, the characters were very strange and quirky, but, you know, really likable. And I just thought I was really proud to be a part of it, actually. It was, I don't know, just really a great series.
Mm-hmm. And everybody else I've talked to, they kind of have different answers for how did you personally take to dubbing opposed to original when you started?
Oh, yeah, it took a bit of getting used to, but I think, you know, once you get the hang of it, you just know, okay, so there's 3 beeps and you say your line after that. And I actually found that I really enjoyed the detail of trying to match the flaps. I mean, of course, it's mostly up to the director to make sure that that happens, but it is a challenge. Sometimes there's so many words that you have to get into those flaps, and but you just keep kind of trying and sometimes you have to, the director or the writer will change some words so that it fits better. But I actually quite like it. It's a way more technical thing than doing prelay where you can just sort of do your own thing. But I like it. It's great.
And do you remember if in most cases are you kind of told to base it off the Japanese, or does it just kind of depend?
No, not usually. Sometimes if we're not really sure what's going on, we'll listen to the original Japanese to sort of see what the tone of it is.
Okay.
And that can be really helpful. Yeah.
And this is another, I think it probably would have been early, but I know you got to be multiple characters in Saber Marionette J.
Yeah. Yeah. I couldn't tell you the name of one of those characters, though. Maybe you know.
Well, I guess what was the first like major original animation series that you had a bigger part on?
The very first one I did was called Little Island, and I really don't think it went much of anywhere because I never heard anything about it after that. So I guess the bigger ones that I've done are My Little Pony, Dinosaur Train, and right now I'm doing Polly Pocket. Yeah, I mean there've been so many of them, but I don't know. I know Crypto the Superdog was pretty, like, that went. I think that was pretty popular.
And just with original and anime as well. Outside of Kyoko, who else do you think that you can personally relate to the most that you've played?
With anime, yeah, maybe Misha in Transformers. I think there's sort of a similar character trait to Kyoko with Misha. Just, strong, but also a little bit uncertain at times.
And has there been a case so far where you've had to get into like a really emotionally involved headspace for voiceover?
That's an interesting question. You know, sometimes, yeah, I mean, sometimes you really do have to get to the point of almost being in tears. I can't give you a specific example of that, but I know that that has happened. And yeah, you just have to really, it's kind of like doing on camera acting, is you just have to kind of go inside yourself a bit and try to get that emotion out. But with animation or anime, it is always going to be a bit bigger than it would be on camera, because you don't have your face, it's only your voice that people are hearing.
I don't know if you had to do that really with Kyoko, even though there's like a lot of emotional scenes.
Yeah, yes, I did. But I think that it was more because of the sort of tone of that series, and it's a little bit more comedic. It wasn't, I didn't have to dig down too deep. It was more sort of a superficial emotion.
Right.
Yeah.
And this was on camera, assuming the credits right, but were you in the final cut with Robin Williams?
Yeah, it's so interesting that that is on IMDb because basically on that film, I was sort of like the B camera shoot where me and the other actor were sort of in his I don't know, his fantasy or something, like this sort of past life thing. And I went on set that day. That was back in the days when I used to do background work. And I was hired as background person that day. And the background casting director knew me and knew that I was an actor. And so she said, hey, we're going to upgrade you to an actor part today. So I'm like, okay, great. So, and then they just like put me in wardrobe and sent me to do this thing. And there were no lines or anything. We were just improvising back and forth, eating breakfast and saying just stuff to each other that we were just improvising. Because that's the kind of thing that, they might just easily cut right out of the movie. You never know.
So did you get to interact with Robin at all, or?
No. So I was totally on a different, like he was on the A set, I was on the B set. So yeah, unfortunately, I never, ever met Robin Williams.
Has there been a case where you've been like starstruck in terms of working with people?
Let me think. It's mostly like when I was doing theater, I used to do some dinner theater stuff, and I did this show called Nonsense. It was a musical about these 5 nuns, and the woman playing the Mother Superior came up from LA, and it was Alice Ghostly. I don't know if you remember her, but she was in Bewitched, which was one of my favorite shows when I was a kid. So I was pretty starstruck with her, but she was the kindest, most natural, real person. So she pretty quickly made everybody feel very comfortable around her. She was great. Yeah, in the films that I've done, I don't think I've really been Well, okay, so yes, Leslie Nielsen in Wrongfully Accused. I was pretty starstruck the day I was on set with him. But he's so funny, and he just made me feel really comfortable. I was just playing this musician that played the violin, and I just poked somebody else in the eye with my violin bow.
What about, has there been a case with major voiceover people?
I just remember being directed by Sue Blue at one time, and she was a very big voice director from LA. So I was pretty happy to be able to be working with her.
Mm-hmm. And I asked people like Michael Adam Thwaite and Kiara this as well. Did you know Kirby Morrow very well?
I did, yeah. I remember, again, because mostly we did anime in the same shows, so didn't get to work with him a lot. But I do remember him, being in the audition room, and he was always so friendly and just, always asking how you're doing, and just a really sort of bright light. And it's very sad that he's gone.
Are you very close with any of the Dobson brothers?
Yeah, I know Paul quite well, and Michael. I've worked with them in quite a few things, actually. It's funny you're asking this because it just seems like so long since I've seen anybody. But now, yeah, you're reminding me. Yes, I want to see those guys again.
So this is going back to timeline of things. No, you got to be in Baby Looney Tunes, which was aired down here.
Oh yeah, that was fun. And yeah, that granny voice has been good to me. I seem to be able to use it for a lot of things.
And in the case where you've played multiple characters in original animation, like with Crypto and Dragon Tales, how does that work? How does that work? Are you able to just do them all kind of in one session, or do you have to go back and go through?
No, we do them all in one session. And sometimes, I mean, if you have a lot of lines where the two different characters are talking to each other, it's probably best to get one at a time. But it is possible to just go back and forth between the two. It's whatever the director prefers. But there's no problem just recording, the one character and then going back and doing the other character.
Okay. So has there been a lot of cases where you've performed with yourself then?
Yeah, I have. And it's fun, especially if you can get on a roll with it and really flip back between the two voices. It's great.
Oh, I know this is more on camera, but Prison Break a few years ago.
Oh yeah, that was fun because I loved that show when it was first on, and I couldn't believe that it came back.
Yeah.
And I didn't get to work with either of the two main guys, the brothers, but I did work with now his name is going to escape me, but the guy that played the husband and the I can't remember the actress's name, but she was the lead actress, and yeah, so I was her mom. So yeah, got to work with her, and that was really interesting. I mean, she was great, and she really like sometimes she's just said to the director, I don't think this line is right, and so so then whatever my line was in reply to her didn't make any sense. So I just kind of had to go with it and just say what made sense. And that seemed to work out.
So do you still pursue on camera just as much as voiceover, or do you have a preference now?
I would say I prefer voiceover just because it's so much fun. And I don't know, it's just more my passion. But I'm auditioning for on-camera stuff all the time. And particularly now, because we can't go into an audition room anymore, everybody's self-taping, which I'm not a big fan of, because I actually like being in the room and getting feedback from even the casting director, but especially the director. But it does mean that there are more opportunities to audition because everybody's self-taping. They can see a lot more people.
Is there anything else that's upcoming that you can safely talk about, or?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, Polly Pocket is back for season 5, so that's going to be happening every week for the next little while. I'm hoping that we were supposed to do another season of Dinosaur Train, and because of the pandemic, it got pushed. So hopefully that will come back at some point. And also, I'm hoping that Molly of Denali might come back.
Okay.
Yeah, but you know, I have no way of knowing. You just kind of have to wait and see what happens.
And my final question is always asking, what do you want your legacy to be?
Well, that's a really good question. I hope that I can bring some joy to people through my work. I don't think that, it's not brain surgery, and I'm not going to change the world with what I do, but I hope that people enjoy what I do as much as I enjoy producing that work. Thank you so much for being fans and for, watching all this stuff over all the years. And I really appreciate on Twitter when people give a shout out to some of the roles I've done. It really means a lot to me. And I'm always amazed. I'm just like, wow. So people are actually listening to and watching this stuff, and that's great. Mm-hmm. So thank you.
Yeah. Well, and just for me to, outside of what I said already about Maison Ikkoku, it is like it's kind of like a shelter show for me when if I'm going through something.
Yeah, so. That's great.
Yeah,
that's great. That kind of stuff can actually do that for people. Mm-hmm. It's fantastic.
Well, thanks. I'm glad that we got to do this.
Yeah, thank you so much, Chris. It was nice to meet you. Okay.
Bye.
Thanks, Chris. Bye-bye.